Welcome back everyone. It's been about a week since I've uploaded a video. I just got sidetracked. I guess let's just go on a personal note very quickly. I've just recently started a new job, so I've just been a bit busy with all that sort of stuff. I'm sure you all understand. Anyway, let's go on with the video. So, I have been working remotely since COVID hit, so about 3 or 4 years I've been working fully remote. And whilst working remotely and recently buying a house, I have obviously made the decision to automate as much of my office as I possibly can. When you work remotely, generally they'll send you a laptop and maybe a keyboard and all that sort of jazz, and a screen as well if you're lucky. And whilst working remotely for the first probably couple months, I just moved into the house and I didn't have the money to just buy any sort of smart equipment that I really needed or wanted. And one of the biggest annoyances was my office faces the sunrise, and when that sun comes up, it's just beaming in my eyes, and it's not great. So the first thing that I wanted to do was to automate my blinds, and it's a bit of a tricky one to be honest, because you almost want them to be closed during sunrise, and then maybe open up again at some other point. And that's kind of a tricky one to do when you add on to the fact that it also reflects off of cars sometimes and bounces into my office, which again isn't the best solution. So you either have the blinds fully closed for about half the day and then open them on an evening, and it's winter now, which means they're closed for half the day, open for 5 minutes, and then it's sunset, so it closes again, which isn't ideal. So that one's a bit of a tricky automation for me. But for the most part, I have them open at sunrise. At the minute, I believe it's at about 45 minutes after sunrise, they open, and then they'll close again at sunset. Occasionally, I have to use my mouth hole to ask Google to close them for me, because that's just the best solution I have at the moment. Ideally, what I sort of need is the ability to sort of say, when the sun is at this position in the sky, close, and then open again later, which is probably overkill, to be honest. I think the solution I have now is probably the one that I'll stick with for the foreseeable future. Now the next one is heating in the office, and when you have equipment running all the time, it generates heat. And the typical radiator, when it's told to heat, it'll just heat. It doesn't care if the room is already at 40 degrees or if it's at 2 degrees. It's just going to heat it. And that's where Hive comes in. I have Hive radiator valves, which means I can set a temperature, say 19, 20 degrees, and it doesn't matter if the heating has been turned on by the thermostat. If this office is already at that temperature or higher, that radiator isn't going to turn on and make me overheat, which is just the best possible solution you could ask for in this situation. Now, I'll talk about Hive in a future video at some point and give it a full review, but especially with the cost of living crisis now, buying radiator valves and a smart thermostat, it's a very good idea. You can turn it off from your phone, turn it on, maybe you've been out for a bit, you're coming home, and you know, best heat, and you're like, oh, the house is going to be cold. You can actually heat the house before you get home, which is just fantastic. You don't walk into a cold house, it's ready heated for you. And for those situations as well where you leave the house and you don't realise actually this is going to turn into a few hours, but your heating's now heating the house and you're not in it, and it's just it's basically literally pissing money out the window, which isn't the best thing. So maybe not Hive. Hive is quite expensive, but there are other alternatives out there, and I strongly recommend taking a look at them because they might save you quite a bit of money. Maybe not radiator valves, but even just a smart thermostat. I mean, radiator valves are also good. The ability to heat rooms to a specific temperature and or only specific rooms, it's a life changer. But more on that on a different video. Now the next thing that I have is I actually have smart sockets. You can buy smart plugs, but they're quite chunky. They take up a lot more room, and I didn't particularly want that in my office. I have a BG Electrical smart socket, and that keeps... Fuck. So next up, you get given this equipment from your company, but they typically come with like a laptop charger, and I don't move around. I keep my work solely in this office. By the way, this is a bag of sweets in the background. I don't know if anyone's really going to bother it. And some digestives, because I'm a fat cunt. So yeah, if you don't move around, then your laptop charger is pretty much just constantly on charge. So what I have done is my laptop will have its charge and the monitor turn on about 20 minutes before I start work, and then turn off around about half an hour to 20 minutes after I finish work, which gives me the opportunity, if I need to do a little bit of overtime, or just not worry about it. I can just walk away and I know that everything's going to just turn itself off, and I don't have to worry about going down underneath my desk, finding the plug and manually turning it off. I just have to let it happen. Or if I finish early, for example, I can just ask Google to turn it off, and it's fine. Or use the app. It's a lot more convenient more than anything. Because when I first started working from this office, those were the two main things that bothered me, was the sun and the fact that I every day had to go under my office, turn on my work setup, and then go back under again at the end of the day to turn it off. This just makes my life just a hell of a lot easier. Finally, I have a Google Home day-long routine. Now the day-long routines are quite good. I don't know if Amazon has this functionality, but Google has this ability to have a day-long routine, or I imagine it's going to be called a day-long automation now with the new Google setup, which I haven't been invited to, and I am fuming. Now what this day-long routine allows you to do is you can set specific times for certain things to happen. So there are certain parts of my job which always happen at certain times. For example, I'm a software engineer who uses an Agile and Scrum methodology. So every day we have a stand-up, and that stand-up is where we talk about what we did yesterday, what we're going to do today, is a restock, blah, 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 blah. Not important, but it's guaranteed that at 7:30 I will have this meeting. So my Google will, or the Google display in my office will mute itself, tell me to, well, it'll remind me to track my time as well, because I always forget to do that, and we need to track our time on certain things that we do. So it'll remind me to track the time, and once the meeting is likely to be finished, obviously it doesn't know, the volume will go back up to about 4. The other thing it also does, it tells me, well, so the stand-up doesn't happen until about 8:35, so there's 5-minute periods, so I actually get told my daily reminders and the weather just before stand-up. Then she reminds me stand-up's about to happen, log time, then she mutes herself, then about 9:30ish she will unmute herself and we'll be ready to start the day. I could ask her to play music or something, and I don't have to worry about the volume that is set, because it should be back to normal. If it's not, I can set that anywhere. Once that's done, I have other automations happening within the house, which turns a heater in the kitchen on roughly around about 12 o'clock, gets it nice and warm, so when I go to have my lunch, the kitchen's not freezing cold, because there's no radiator in my kitchen, so I need a heater on there to make it warm. And then at the end of the day, turns off the sockets, and I can get back to life. So how can I improve my routines? Well, first of all, having a laptop on charge all day every day isn't a great thing to be doing. What I think I will do is plug the laptop and my monitor in separately on 2 separate sockets, and have the laptop sort of cycle through being on and off, so that way the battery isn't just constantly being blasted with charge. I already mentioned the blinds. I already mentioned the blinds. Another improvement would be that they stay closed if it's bad weather, because if it's dark and rainy, then opening the blinds isn't really going to do anything. I should keep them closed. And the other thing is, during summer I have to have a fan in here, which turns on manually. Now, it would be good if, and this isn't possible with Google, but if the radiator is clocked at, say, 25 degrees in winter, in summer, sorry, to turn on the fan. At the moment, that's not a possibility, but it would be good if that is an automation that we can have in Google. It would just make my life a lot easier than having to ask Google to turn on the fan. Anyway, so that's it for this video, guys. I tried a different approach to this video where I sort of had different cutscenes of various things happening in my office. It'd be good to know what you guys think of it. It's a bit more of a production value and it takes more time for me to put into it, but I'm thinking as this sort of goes on, I'll put more and more effort into editing and making a nice finished product. I'm not the best at editing, so it might not. You might not even see these edits that I'm talking about, but hopefully you will, and hopefully it's not the worst thing in the world. I hope you all enjoyed, and let me know if you have your own office automations. It would be good to know what you guys have, what you do. I have some future automations in mind for my office once I've finished building it. It's not quite finished yet, I've been doing it for a year, but I do have some stuff in mind, and I'll give you a full office tour one day. To really show off the automations properly and sort of, I guess, what happens. But anyway, that's all for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe. It really helps me out, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye bye.